The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of Take Shape for Life health coaches or clients. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to healthy living and weight loss will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a physician before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Take Shape for Life team.
Welcome everyone to tonight's Habits of Health webinar. It is my privilege to introduce to you Lisa Castro.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Habits of Health call. You've come to the right place if you're wanting to learn how to create healthier habits in all areas. So many of us have a tendency to think this is about losing weight, but you're going to find out as you get more involved and integrated with Take Shape for Life, you're going to learn that we're a whole lot more than that. And one of those things is creating a healthy mind. And part of that healthy mind is healthy emotions. And so the topic is emotions. Can you trust them? I'm going to answer that question as we go through this presentation. A lot of this presentation is based on the book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And this is about learning how to be very aware of the choices or thought processes of how we show up in the world. And one of the things, the way we describe it is we take responsibility. We play above the line. And what I mean by that is if we're playing above the line, we take ownership for our choices and our decisions. We take accountability, or on that accountability for that we are responsible for what we're doing each day. And then responsibility, that it is our responsibility, what things are our responsibilities and what things can we support others in being responsible for. Now, this is a review of a presentation of what I did before on just this portion, but we're going to go specifically into emotions today. Because what we want to do is we want to help people get from that place where we might be blaming somebody or ourselves for what's going on in our life, or we might be making excuses. I used to say I was the queen of excuses. I still find myself making excuses or justifying my behaviors or blaming someone else, but it's how quickly I might rise above that to be taking ownership and so forth. How about being in denial? Any of us in denial for some of the choices we make, or that it's our responsibility? That's below the line. I had somebody ask me after the last presentation that I talked about above the line and below the line. There's actually a Habits of Health topic called Living Above the Line. How do you know if you're living below the line if you are taking responsibility for making a wrong choice? Well, if you're blaming yourself or making excuses for it, then you know it's below the line, but you can quickly rise above that. And that Habits of Health call, learn some questions to ask yourself to get to the other place, or what we call shifting. So today, though, we're going to be talking about the importance of emotional intelligence. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before. We know about IQ, but emotional intelligence? Well, it's about, understanding our feelings and what to do with them. Feelings are natural. A lot of us have learned as we've gotten older to just kind of hide them, avoid them, not face them, or actually one emotion might turn into another emotion because we're not addressing them. Some of us have learned, when we were growing up, not to cry, especially boys. Little boys were told, don't cry, it's not manly or whatever, and they would hide that. But it's a true expression of our bodies and our emotions. It's how we're made up. Our emotions make us who we are and make us that unique person. And so if we can learn to express them in a healthy way, that's going to help in all areas of our life. Matter of fact, if we repress our emotions, it causes all kinds of issues. And not only, we think about our mind and our emotions, but how about how that affects us physically? I remember when I was in a very unhealthy place, a lot of my emotions were pent up, and I was feeling like a victim of my circumstances, and I just woe's me type mentality. I ended up with autoimmune disease, and inflammation is brought on by a lot of our own thought processes and the stress we put on ourselves. And so it affects us psychologically, physiologically. If we hold stress in, that can lead to all kinds of pressure and blood pressure issues. So if we have the physiological and the psychological, and then even relational, when we're at this place where we're not handling our emotions very well and we lash out at others or blame others, it doesn't put us in a good position, especially in our marriages, with our families, even our work environments. So emotional intelligence, before you can become emotionally intelligent, you must be emotionally literate. In other words, if we don't know what our emotions are, then we're not going to know how to address them in a way that will bring that maturity of how we handle them to the forefront. So emotions, here's the definition from the book. It's energy in motion. You know, a lot of us think the emotions are in our mind, which they are to a point, but they're showing up in our bodies physically. So emotions are simply a physical sensation, not a thought. So if you find yourself saying, I feel like this is happening to me, I feel like they don't understand, that's not a feeling. That's actually a thought. That was huge to me. I didn't realize it. I thought if I said the word feeling in front of it, that meant it was a feeling. But it's really just a thought or a notion or perception. When we bring up I thought or I feel that, then that's not actually the actual feeling. So we're going to get to where it's the emotion versus the mind thought. When that mind gets tied in with that physical sensation, that's when things can play havoc in some of our actions regarding the emotions we're feeling. So let me go a little bit further to clarify. There's 5 primary emotions to varying degrees. These are the 5 primary, just kind of like you have primary colors. If you mix any of those 3 colors, they make additional colors. Well, that's what we have with anger, fear, sadness, joy, sexual feelings. I almost get embarrassed just talking about that one. The way the book refers to it is it's talking about desire / creativity. I mean, there's just different sensations in the body that not just sexually, but it's expressed in other areas of creativity in our lives. And there's various degrees, like for instance, anger might be anywhere from anger to mild frustration, or it could be outright rage. So you can see how there could be varying degrees, and there might be times when it's a combination of fear and sadness together. I remember experiencing one time a little bit of fear and joy. That was getting ready to jump out of an airplane. Woohoo! So you're going to learn to pay attention to your body in a way that you're going to understand that emotions are just a natural thing, just like a baby cries when it's not happy with something. Just like a dog barks or growls when they're expressing themselves. We're going to learn how to express ourselves in a way that it's appropriate and fits and matches what the emotion is we're going through. And to help with that, this is how to locate emotions. I just took a snapshot of the book, that's why it's a little distorted here. But what it's talking about is if you recognize in a particular area in your body that you're feeling angry, or let me put it this way, if you're feeling it in your jaw, anybody clench up when they're feeling angry, the neck, back, across the shoulders, do you ever feel that tension? Well, typically that's because you're feeling that sense of anger, but sometimes it might come out as a different emotion, or you're not even addressing it, so some thoughts start coming into your head and you start expressing it in a way that might not be healthy. Sadness, where do you feel that? In your eyes, high up in your chest, maybe your upper throat. You know, you get teary-eyed, kind of gulp in your throat. So the upper chest, it kind of like, you feel that, oh, like a lot of people touch their chest when they're feeling sadness. How about joy? And I want you guys to really look at this because it's going to really help with the later on. I'm going to be showing this slide again, and we're going to be talking about what to do with it once you recognize the emotions and where they're coming from. Now, it's not always 100% like this, but in this case, that's definitely what you're going to experience most of the time. So joy is coming from the core, the spine. Have you ever just kind of welled up inside and it's like, just feels so good? I think of the sign language for joy or excitement as fire. It's fire. It's just welling up from within. So that's an easier one to recognize. How about fear? That comes typically in the belly. Have you ever heard about butterflies in the tummy? You know, that getting nervous about something or fearful of something? That would be explaining why you're feeling it in that area of your body. Now, the feelings, the sexual feelings, talk about genitals and erogenous zones. You know, again, we might have that feeling, but do we act in a particular way, or do we learn to express it in a healthy way depending on where the circumstances are? So I'm going to go on from there to talk about emotions happen in waves. The first, it's a physical sensation going through your body that just rises, and then it crests, and then it releases. If we release it, so many times we have not learned how to recognize it and just kind of let the emotion go through our body just as a natural response. Just like as the author says, drinking a glass of water, or if you get thirsty, you drink a glass of water. That's just what we do. If you're hungry, you eat something, and then we release it. Literally, we eliminate it. So we're doing the same with emotions as it rises through our body and falls through our body. So if we recognize it and release it through a breathing exercise, and we'll be showing you later, you're going to notice that the emotion just kind of releases. Just a natural thing, just flowing through the body. And then knowing how to express the emotions all the way through to completion helps us develop emotional intelligence. If you want to mature in that and emotional intelligence quickly, learn this exercise according to the author and from personal experience. I'm going to have somebody on later that is actually going to be talking about how it's really helped in her life as well. So we talk about a lot as the people that are studying this book, above the line. I commit to resisting, judging, and apologizing for my feelings. Below the line, meaning when we're taking, not responsibility for our choices, we're actually repressing it. I repress, avoid, and withhold them. Not expressing the emotion is going to actually cause other issues when we repress them. So that's below the line. So we want to rise above. Here's ways we can avoid by expressing that emotion in a healthy way. We might go off to eat something. How many of us on our program have chosen when we're under stress or upset about something to go eat? How about even when we're joyful? I remember Nick Fry, our behaviorist at Take Shape for Life, when he went on to say that even positive times, those social occasions, can even lead to eating excessively or drinking or whatever. How about even spending? How about sleeping too much or avoiding sleeping because we can't rest because we have all these thoughts in our head? Even Facebook, mindless things, even isolation. I used to do that one a lot. I actually said I lived as a hermit because I just wasn't handling life well. So it was easier to just kind of step away and just isolate myself. Even though I was married with family, I look back on it and I just think I missed out on life so much because I wasn't dealing with what was going on in my life. I just let my thoughts take over, where I had compulsive thoughts of thinking, this is the way it is. How am I ever going to get better? This is happening to me. Woe is me was a common thought in my head. And then I would make a story in my head and make it bigger and bigger with my thoughts. So repression causes recycling. So if I hold back that emotion, or I don't express it, or I think nobody's going to listen to me, or nobody cares, and I start repressing it, that emotion can turn into a mood. And that mood hardens, and it can become angriness, becomes bitterness. The fear that we have becomes anxiety. Sadness becomes apathy if we don't express it. And the one that we do want to have, joy, that usually we don't get around to it because all the other emotions are standing in the way because we haven't expressed them, that we can't experience joy to the fullest. It's a lot harder. So what we're going to be talking about as I continue on is talking about how to recognize, again, when that's happening. Because if we talk about feeling all feelings, I commit to feeling my feelings all the way through to completion. They come into my body. I'm feeling that sensation. I start paying attention to just what's happening. Is my body tightening up? As the author talks about making these little bits, imagining your body in little bits, and you're saying, what are they doing? Are they clashing against each other? Are they getting tense? Are they tightening up? Are they free flowing? What's going on? Because even fear, anger, sadness are clues that we need to address something. They're not there for no reason. If we suppress them, then we're not going to be feeling the feeling and expressing it through completion. And I don't mean by getting all mad at somebody because you're angry. That's the part that's so cool about this. They come and I locate them in my body, which we talked about before, talking about the anger, the fear, the joy. And I'm going to show a picture again so you can actually get a review of it. Then move, breathe, and vocalize. This is really something. Dr. A talks about, doing the breathing all the time doing the relaxation breathing and being very mindful of our breathing when we're in a situation where we're reacting. But the author adds to this to move in some way, move that expresses the feeling that we're having, and then vocalize it. And he's saying not by verbally saying, oh man, do you know what they did to me, and and get all mad about it if you're dealing with anger. He's saying, what sound coincides or matches with a feeling of anger. Well, if I'm angry, so if I do my breathing, I'm doing my deep abdominal breathing, putting your hand on your belly button. You've heard me talk about this before. Then releasing it. And if you make a sound as you're releasing that breath, if I said, and I did that and slow down my breathing and take a break between each one, just kind of pause for a little bit. Pretty soon it's going to be hard to make that noise because you're not feeling that anymore. It's really cool how it just kind of, pretty soon just kind of flows through if you just let it, without the thinking process, just concentrate on your breathing. That's all we're looking at right now, and focusing on making that noise. And I know it sounds kind of weird making a noise, and it's not always appropriate because like right now, if I stressed out, you'd think I was kind of weird by going, ugh, between each of my breaths. But there's times when you could take a pause or even just kind of do it under your breath. I've done it to you guys before and you didn't even know I did it. And it was really cool to be able to just kind of relax and work with it. So then that way they release all the way through. So I'm just taking that physical sensation, letting it go through my body. It is what it is, right? So wonder with curiosity as that's releasing through your body. What's this teaching me? Why am I feeling angry? And so you start getting wonder. You don't have to have an answer. It's just being curious. I wonder what made me angry. And then if you start, well, I know what it was. I'm going to give you some questions to ask yourself. If you start getting yourself all worked up again, you might want to go back to doing another 90 seconds of breathing, because that's about how long it usually takes to release it. So by mastering emotional intelligence, it's more than just locating and naming the emotion. It's about fully releasing the feelings, like I was describing. What you'll notice is a calm and clarity will come with a healthy release of emotion. All of a sudden it's like, oh, and you start seeing things a little differently. Your responses will definitely be different. When we get in that reactive stage, there's so many things we might do immediately. I don't care anymore. Go and do whatever. Versus if we get into that place where we're breathing, work through the emotion, curious about why we're doing it, wondering, okay, I get what's going on here. Got a little clarity. Now I can decide what I want to do with that emotion, but I'm going to be in a very logical part of my brain as I do it. So I'm bringing this up again now that you understand why we're searching for the emotion. Again, anger. See where it's located on the body. Those that are on the podcast, you might not be able to see this, but I did describe it in the earlier slide that I showed. Then there's sadness, joy. I like that emotion a lot. I want to have a joyful life. So I work towards having that in my life, but I know that all those other emotions are part of who I am as well in their natural expression. Fear in the abdominal area. And then those other feelings that can create sexual desire, or just in that creative state where just desire of any kind that it wells up and goes, oh, I want some of that. So those are the kind of emotions we're going to be talking about, and how they can start out as a negative thing, but we can turn them around to be positive. And I'm going to have one more slide before I have our guest speaker share her testimonial about how this has been working for her. So how to release emotion. This is the actual breathing exercise. Hope you guys can see this. You can always watch it on the Habits of Health recordings too. Ask your health coach about how to access them. So breathing exercise first, locate the sensation. Where am I feeling this in my body? Okay, I'm feeling my lower abdominal area. I must be dealing with some fear. That's probably my most common emotion. Still to this day, it just goes away a lot faster. Ask, what are the bits doing? Those little pieces in our body, what are they? There's kind of feeling a little bit of a tightening up in my stomach. And a little bit of that, I'd say a little bit different than butterfly, let's say. So I'm paying attention. I'm learning to really be in tune with my body. And then breathe and allow the bits to do what they do. That's just what they do. Accept the emotion. It's just going through your body as a natural response to whatever was going on before. So then move. So if I'm like upset about something, I might move forward a little bit because that expresses where I'm feeling a little upset. Make the sound. When I'm breathing, I know it sounds weird again, but under my breath, or I even go off to a different place and maybe express it, or in my car. It's a real easy one to do. So match what the bits are doing with the sound you make. So if they're feeling tight, do something, a sound that releases the tension. If they're feeling joyful, let out that joy. If you're feeling sad, just really let it let it show. And I can't wait till Grace. I'm going to ask Grace Parks to come on. Grace, glad that you could be on today. And it's been fun working with you on this exercise. And I think you were one of the first people I talked to about sharing this aspect of emotional intelligence. And I'd love for you to share what it's been like for you.
Well, hi, Lisa. Thank you for inviting me to join you. This has been transformational for me, you guys. Looking back, I have always had a lot of emotions that I used to just shove down, and I let them control me, especially the negative ones. Like she was saying, joy seems to get buried when you have a lot of negative. I let it control me instead of moving me forward. And so I want to clarify something, that when I say my health journey, it actually kept me moving forward with my health journey. It is so much deeper than the scale. I found that when I would get stuck in those emotions, it would change my perspective, and I would see things worse than they really were, and it would distort the truth. And Lisa actually touched on that a little bit, that it made it so I couldn't see the things how they really were. And that usually in my life, it led to very strong emotional eating. And as you know, that leads to major problems. And so now I use that as a signal when I am having struggles with making healthy choices. That's a red flag to me, that I've gone back to that reactive mode and I'm not dealing with the emotions. I'm just shoving them down. And so it catches my attention and makes me want to do something so I can move forward. It did take me a long time to learn this habit. So I want to clarify to you guys, I wish we could say it could happen overnight. It does take some time to learn this. Lisa has been extremely patient with me over the years in teaching me how to handle these emotions in a healthy way. And so when she introduced me to these tools, oh my goodness, transformational. It has helped me go to the next level in my health journey for sure. And honestly, when she told me about, okay, I'm going to have you breathe deep and then make this sound to release it, I went, oh my goodness, that sounds extremely weird. I don't know. And then I did it. I was to the point I was desperate. I had to do something. So I tried it. And oh my goodness, every single time I breathed it out and I made that sound, it was that physical release. Oh my goodness. I don't know how to explain it. You won't know until you try it. You've got to try it. Another tool she helped me with was, I am one of those people, I didn't know how to identify my emotions. They would come up, but I didn't know what they were. And so I had to learn how to identify them. And so she introduced me to some questions recently that have helped me take that stop, challenge, and choose habit to the next level. Like I would stop, but then I couldn't challenge very well. So the questions I'm referring to just briefly, and your coach can explain them further if you need to, is what happened? What do you wish would have happened? What is missing? And then what's next? Well, I found that I couldn't choose because I would get stuck on number 3. I didn't know what was missing. So I had to dig a little deeper and go below the surface to find out what that emotion was. And once I found that, then I can move forward. And so it just opened the door for me to go on. And I wanted to clarify that sometimes emotions are tricky and they try to sneak back in. And so the cool thing now is I can look back. I've already gone through the stop, challenge, and choose. I've breathed and released it. And so I'm able to go right back to it. And it's made it so before this tool, I would get stuck and couldn't move forward. I would be in that reactive mode. I can't do this. I was very frantic. This is like my red flag now. If I'm frantic, then I go do that habit, because once I do it, I'm calm. I can relax. I can breathe through it. I can get into that creative mode that Lisa was talking about, and it helps me move forward in my journey. Very transformational, guys. I'll try it.
Great. Thank you so much, Grace. So you guys can see that that is something that has been beneficial, not only for helping. Grace is a coach on our team, and so helping with her, she's actually turned around and helped some of her clients really practice some of these habits as well. And so we thought we'd bring it onto a call like this so that other people could benefit from it and clients could learn from it directly, as well as each of us as coaches. So Remember the question at the very beginning, emotions, can you trust them? Yes, you can trust emotions. It's our thoughts around them that can't necessarily be trusted, because if you think about it, if you have the emotion and you don't react or let it flow through your body and you react, and by start thinking about things and have the thoughts around it, it keeps this cycle going where now you have the emotion even stronger, and then you have the thought that reinforces it, and you get into what we call a drama triangle. It's like, oh, and and you just end up, creating this drama for yourself. If we just stop long enough with the thoughts and just express the emotion, then we would be able to have a more functioning life, enjoying our relationships. Physically, we would be healthier, and psychologically, obviously, that's going to really be a benefit. So if you find yourself still not releasing the emotion because of thoughts around the emotion, ask yourself these questions. Just like Grace did, she had some questions, and this is a different series of questions. I refer to them as the awareness questions. This is asking yourself, when you're having that negative thought or that perception or that concept that's holding you back from moving forward on your journey or that decision, or you want to be conscious about, are you making the right move to move forward on your journey in any aspect? This is about taking leadership, not only of our, in a leadership role, but a leader of our life and leader of our physical health and our emotional health. So if you find yourself saying this negative concept or negative thought, ask yourself, is it true? And most of us, if we don't want to be honest with ourselves quite yet, might say, yeah, it's true. They're being this way. Well, you're blaming, right? Below the line. Do I absolutely know that it is true? Well, I know that part is true, but maybe there's this reason why, and you start thinking, well, I don't absolutely know that it's true. And you start being realistic with yourself about it, that it's not 100% true. If it's an arguable answer, not a concrete where it's factual and you could, there's not an opinion in it, then other than that, you don't know for sure that it is true. How do I show up or react when I believe that thought? So if I believe that negative thought, and I don't know about you, but I would make that thought go in my head, build up the story even bigger and bigger until it was way bigger than it initially was. And so now the thought is worse than any emotion I ever felt to begin with. So how would I be without that thought? Or who would I be without that thought? If I didn't have that negative thought or about that person or have that negative story that's taken me down, or I can never do this because, who would I be if I didn't have that thought? Wonder. Curious, what would that look like? Most people would find that they would like that person a whole lot more, and the person that they might have had something against, or the thing that they thought they didn't have control over, they would say, well, maybe I should look at this differently. What if I did this? And that's where that calmness and clarity come in. And then you can make a choice from that area of your brain instead of the reactive state. So I'm glad that you guys are on tonight, because I really wanted to be able to share this with you. I've found so much help. And in a future call, I want to actually talk about, there's nothing wrong with fear, sadness, anger. When we think of those as negative emotions, it's what we do with it. So that call will be in the future, or you can get the book, 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, and look at commitment number 3. It's huge and powerful. And I'm going to be finishing up here I'm going to stop sharing. But I see that there's a whole lot of chatting going on, and I hope there's some, Katie Byron, thank you, or Byron Katie is the one that asked those questions, and the book is called Love What Is. So give credit for that one. So thank you guys all for being on, and those that have been, are staying on for the trilogy call, which we truly welcome you to do. I get the honor of doing that call as well, so we're going to be starting with that in about 1 minute. So hopefully you'll stay on. Invite others to join us if they're wanting to learn about all it takes shape for life, including, maybe even looking at paying it forward and helping others move forward on their journey. We invite you to do that now.
The preceding audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some Take Shape for Life health coaches or clients. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, Please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to healthy living and weight loss will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a physician before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the Take Shape for Life team.